赶快把这个好消息分享给你的朋友吧。
各位亲爱的网友朋友，大家新年好。
Hello, my dear friends, Happy New Year.
一不小心又到了新的一年了
Oh my gosh, it's another year.
我是觉得以后应该在这个跨到一个新的一年的时候
when we are entering a new year, I almost felt like, oh my gosh, we haven't even had a ceremony and it's already there. It's already here.
我们跟前的同修啊也在跟我说，那新年了，要讲点什么呢？
A lot of students here also say, New Year, what should we say? Or maybe just greetings, New Year's greetings? You cannot just greet for an hour, like without end.
咱们来听课的都不是俗人。
You know, all our online, audience, they're very special persons. Yeah, they're all, very high level. And you see a lot of greetings online and in your social medias. And this day actually is not very different from other days. It's just a little maybe colder. You've already had a lot of greetings from everywhere, and we've already also, okay, maybe we should greet some more. Okay, get ready. Wish everybody a happy new year. Received. Okay, say received. Wish everybody happy new year. Again, okay? You already can learn this by heart. Wish everybody happy new year. Wish everybody happy new year. Joyce, you want to use some other terms? We are always focusing on everything. Oh, wish Grandmaster auspiciousness and wish fulfillment. Oh, see? Now you have another term. Now you're more smart. So, well, I like to continue the discussion from last time. Life and choices. Entering which line for everybody is very important. Ever since you leave the school, you need to find a job and to make a living and settle down. And so for young people, when they, starting from choosing the major, and then after school, after graduating, they need to find a job. This is a very difficult decision. Everybody's afraid of finding a wrong job or a wrong career, or you don't want to be out of date, and so you might have a lot of, this stress, or anyways, it's a little bit of confusion and unsettled. And so a lot of young friends and their parents really, send a lot of messages to me and ask me if I can talk in more detail. Sometimes they write questions so so much in detail. They say, how can I, what should I do in this situation? Should I continue my online company or something? So I cannot just answer in general. So today, because I've had some experience, I might have a little bit experience in some young people, and I have, experienced many different kind of people in different areas, different fields, and so maybe I have had a tiny bit of more experience than you, so that I like to, I'll be happy to share with you, and And so Joy said, okay, so continuing from last session, well, but we also have some new audience. Maybe they haven't heard the last session. Can we summarize the important parts that Grandmaster has already taught last time? So maybe, yeah, why not? Okay, so last time we watched a video from Whistler. Yes, Grandmaster, I didn't forget that. And so in that video, we saw a lot of young people coming from all over the world to come to Whistler. And their way of living is very interesting. A lot of people are very curious about their, way of living. And a lot of people come to Whistler for their passion because they love skiing. They like either skiing or mountain biking. And some people, they work here for maybe a year or two, and some even settle down and continue to work in that industry. Maybe they become a guide or maybe a skiing instructor. And some young people, they probably wander all over the world, travel all over the world for 5 or 6 years. And yeah, so Grandmaster called these people like migrant birds. Yeah, so it's like seasonal. They will be here in this season. And so these migrant bird experience, let's start from here. So Grandmaster says, today, I like to share with our young friends. Well, actually, what we're going to discuss here is very important for women who marry the wrong person. If after 3 days of marriage, the man died and then the woman become a widow, that is so terrible. Well, actually, there were, terrible things happened, and there were even more terrible things. And at the wedding, maybe the man was, very rich and everything, so brilliant. But after 2-3 years, the man has to pay the debt, and the new wife and had to also follow him and always work very hard to pay the debt. And but also there are good things, good marriages. The girl used to be a young girl in the city, but she fell in love with a man from the country. And but eventually the man, long story short, the man becomes the richer person of that province. So that was a good story, a good experience. And for a man, if they enter into a wrong line, a wrong industry, then how can they survive? And it's actually a big trouble. And maybe you cannot do anything in your whole life, and sometimes even cannot make a living, even cannot support yourself. And those who cannot support themselves, of course, they cannot support their family. And the Chinese character An is the upper part is a house and the lower part is a woman. So usually it's the man who go out and work, and after he marries, and then he needs to settle down and need to support the family. So then he has this responsibility. And in order to support the family, when in order to support the family, of course, the job becomes so important. And ancient people in China, Jiangzi, he already was a very, almost like an enlightened person or like a sage, and he, but still, whatever business he chooses, he always lose money. And, he lost in many different industries and always lose money. And finally, he found that even though he feels like he's the the wisest person of the world, but when he just want to make a living, he failed multiple times. And so choosing the right field or the right line is so important. And so that's why today's discussion is very, very important. Yeah. So if you don't listen to today's teaching, you will probably regret, and also bring your children and your sisters, brothers, and everybody in your family to come and listen. So in Life and Choices Part 1, you can see those young people in Whistler. They love the snow mountain. When they came to Whistler, they don't want to go. And of course, for these people from England or other countries, it's easier for them to get the visa, yes, and they don't want to leave. And so Joyce asked me, do you like these migrant birds? Well, I thought it over. I think I not only like them, but I think it's very necessary. And you think, oh, well, Grandmaster, you had always asked us to focus on something. How come you like those people who always migrate, change and move? Well, young people, after they have already in school for many years, over 10 years, and sometimes over, much more than 10 years. And finally, after all these school years, they can go to some places that they like, that they can spend a year or two. And these young people, you can see that they are not just idling or playing there. Sometimes they do some work that they like, or if they go to the nature and do good exercise. Even for those people, a lot of young people have depression, and if they go to nature and do some exercise that they like, it might heal them. And even the doctors would say, yes, nature sometimes can heal you. And at the same time, they can even find a job that they don't have to rely on their parents. They could support themselves. In Whistler, there are lots of tourists. In the summer and in the winter, there are people interested in, different sports, and they are not residents there. They're mostly visitors. So they find a job either always in a service, not much, skills that so there are many people coming, either they're engineers, maybe they could even in the financial industry, or they could be in any industry. And so I think the process for them to come to Whistler is a kind of learn in the trouble, so it actually relieves their pressure from over 10 years of studying, so that they can relax their body and mind. It's just like, in China, a lot of those seniors like to go to some beautiful places and relax, and for them this is a good way to relax. And when they're in Whistler, there are many different ways to relax. In Whistler they have really wonderful snow, and it's not too far from the city. If it's like 18 hours from the airport, it won't be too easy to ski because the transportation is not good, and then you can't get enough supply. But that was a very nice place. They have a wonderful ski resort, which is not too far from the city. And the young people, when they come to travel and learn, it's actually very beneficial. Usually in China, I know that before students graduate from the university, they will do some work like a co-op, or they can get some training or some experience in the work. And Joy said in a lot of companies, when they hire people, they like people with work experience. And I have a friend whose daughter is who learns medical science, and she wanted to get a master's degree, and before she entered the graduate school, they require her to have some experience in the hospital, and so she happened to be in the hospital in these pandemic for 2 years, and she was so good. Every day she saved so many people. Now she already had hundreds or even 1,000 hours of work experience, and now she's going to enter the graduate school, and all the experience in the hospital made her determined to be a good doctor, to save more lives. So that's very good. And so yes, these work experience helped them to learn more about the industry. And a lot of students in the university, on their last 2 years, they want to go and find some co-op job, or and those who learn marketing, they also like to have some work experience, because there's always some work that's related to their major, and they can find an opportunity to get some experience. And so after you graduate from university or college, some people are eager to find a stable job, and some people like to maybe travel for 2 years. Actually, it's very popular in North America. It's very popular, and they call it like a gap year, 1 year or 2 years. So Grandmaster say, I think it's pretty good. If in these 2 years, when you're traveling, I actually suggest in these 2 years you can find 2 or 3 or 4 different companies. You probably haven't learned very much in detail about the whole company, but you at least had some brief understanding of that industry, and also some general knowledge. You probably won't get all the know-how, but at least you've already had some experience. And also you would know whether this industry would fit you. Yeah, in the last session, Grandmaster mentioned about finding an appropriate industry is not very easy. So you can use different ways to find the right industry. You can just discard the ones that you don't like, and then eventually, from the ones that you might like, and choose one, or you can try like this. And so Grandmaster says, in addition to the experience in school, I think it would be very beneficial to find some experience that you can gain some other experiences in work or travel, and we call it like learning in the travel. And so Joy said there's a father who really liked his son to make money in the financial industry. So the son said, okay, let me give it a try and see if I like it. And then the son said, oh, he really doesn't like it. And so it was good that he found that early, so he can get to his favorable industry. Then he can some people, they have to work for 6 and 7 years and eventually know that they don't like it. Or some people work already in their 40s and then they don't like it. And Grandmaster says, there's one family, the eldest daughter is in computer science, and the second daughter also likes math, and so the father was an accountant. And when they're in high school, they asked the two daughters to come and gain some experience. And after a few times, the daughter said, "No, this is not what I want." And so they eventually went to the construction field and instruction industry, and so she told the father, "Do you know that I really I'm fed up with the numbers. I can't bear with all these numbers." And so now, so she's now in construction industry and did very well. And so for this daughter to have the experience of an accountant, it actually gives her some good experience and good inspiration, even for her future work in the construction industry. So from my experiences, when you grow up to my age, you may notice that in your young ages, like all the knowledge that you learned and everything is actually like destined to learn. And sometimes you think, oh, this has nothing to do with me, but eventually it still will be useful. If the universe loves you more, then the universe will make you learn more. And so the knowledge sometimes we have an old Chinese saying, it's just like the rock from the other mountain can maybe fix the other mountain. So it basically means that your knowledge in another field may be able to help you in this field. And so there was somebody who was just about to eventually achieve the final goal, and if he can pass the last thing, and so this person like tried to find the final result, and so this was a researcher, and so he even sleep in the research institute and couldn't find the answer. And one day he went to a fountain in the city, and there was a little child who splashed the water, and the scientist suddenly thought, oh my gosh, oh, it's like that. And then he went back to the lab, and eventually he got the Nobel Prize. Oh, okay, so this is someone who got the Nobel Prize. So it is like, yeah. So the old Chinese saying is that even a rock in this mountain might be able to defeat a jade in the other mountain. So which means, anyways, yeah, knowledge from one field can maybe sometimes give inspirations or help with another field. Yeah, so Grandmaster is in favor of touching different fields and enriching our experiences. And yeah, so when we were in Whistler, we interviewed a lot of people in the service industry, either sell things or work in the hotel, and because they want to earn some income so that they can go and ski. And are there anyone who, is there any organization or an industry that Grandmaster you would recommend for young people to try and enrich their experience? And so Grandmaster says, actually, usually I'm just practice and teaching. I actually encounter people in many, many different fields. In this society, I cannot just recommend, oh, just do this industry or that industry. We cannot just recommend 2 or 3 industries. In the whole society, there are probably more than 10,000 different fields, and it's just which one suits you better. And so when you are practicing in one field, it's hard to choose which industry to try first. But everyone needs to find a job and eventually get married and support the family. Some people are more suitable for, management, and some just like to do, charity work. And sometimes they are already graduated, but they still cannot find their direction. So my personal opinion, well, I cannot tell lies, and so I hope what I'm sharing can, be a good reference for you or inspire you. Well, maybe you think I'm talking from a practitioner or but actually it's just my personal opinion. So my opinion is that please forget about your ego. Like every one of you has a mission. You should look up on you, and you all have your mission, and you are sent by the universe to this human world. So what shall I do, in which field? Usually normal people cannot get the inspiration like in words if you just sit here and open your eyes. In this world, everybody, your abilities and your strength is like you're supporting each other. It's like very good, like you match each other. So some people can be a doctor, some people can be a chef, some people can, do construction or something. It's just like we are like counterparts to each other. And so what you need to learn when we think about finding a job, I think we'd better have something in our mind. So what can I contribute to the world? Through my effort, shall I bring some love to the world, or more happiness to the world? Shall I bring, make more people, more peaceful? Will the world become more peaceful because of me, or make more people happier, or more gratitude? And well, I don't know if you agree with me. Maybe you think it's too uplifting, and I do think that everybody has your like everybody is a gem of the universe. Whether you can recognize that you're not an animal, you are a human being. You have the wisdom of a human being, and everybody has a mission when you come to this world. And Joyce said, yes, Grandmaster, you always talk about a wonderful life or a colorful life. So a wonderful life, is this a prosperous life? Does this equal to a rich life, a wealthy life? A wonderful life, it depends on you. If you think this life is wonderful, if other people also say this is wonderful, then you think it's wonderful. Everybody else also think it's wonderful. Of course, this is wonderful. Sometimes you think this is wonderful, but other people, they don't think this is wonderful. If there are people blaming you, if somebody killed someone but by accident, then this, even though you might have a lot of other strengths, but you made a mistake and you actually hurt others, then you will have a lot of trouble. In the pandemic, in another aspect. So as a doctor, I am a doctor and I did my job. Nobody dared to go to the hospital, and they dare not meet other people. But I'm the doctor, so every day I'm going to meet patients, and it's my responsibility to serve the people, to help them when they need. And so I have that joy after I help them and serve them. And in the medical system, in the whole team, after the whole team's effort, if a patient is recovered, then all of us just feel so satisfying and so joyful. So this is if we can have such an altruistic mind, then when we choose a career, then we will be more aligned. And when we work, we will have no complaints because everything that we're doing is to helping others. And then maybe you're asked, what is altruism? Well, to bring benefits to others. So the goal is not to just satisfy myself, but also to benefit others. Because of my existence, you will be better, and then I feel better because of that. So this is altruism. So the opposite would be like very selfish, only care about yourself, and so people are feel disgusting. And let alone those people who would harm others. So, if they just care about their own interest, whatever in any way that they can, and that would be terrible. So those people who have the altruistic mind, everybody would love them and like them. And so for those people who have an altruistic mind, would they definitely be the richest people? Not necessarily. A lot of kind people, a lot of religious people, they probably don't even have their own assets. They don't even have their own house. They don't even have a very expensive watch. But their contribution to the society is huge. And they themselves feel very happy and fulfilled. And so a lot of religious people, when they have to encounter disasters or death, they're very calm, and because they have made every effort to make this world better. And so these altruism, even though it was planning to help others and benefit others, but for themselves, they had a very they feel very satisfying in their mind, in their spirit, that so eventually that's the benefit of themselves. And so when we're here, we're also feeling such kind of satisfying. So it's because we can help others. So wonderful life who has an altruistic mind. This wonderful life is actually more wonderful than those rich people. Whether you leave your name behind or not, as long as your life is full of gratitude and happiness, and so many people are grateful for you and happy because of you. Maybe you had a hard life, like worked very hard, but still it's a wonderful life. And a lot of rich people, even though they might be very rich, but they have a lot of afflictions and maybe a lot of frustrations, and they probably had very little very short time of joy because they are afraid of, maybe if they have money, they're afraid of other people would take the money or, so a lot of fear and afflictions. Well, some people might think, oh, if you have an altruistic mind, how can you make money? Well, everybody has different pursuits. Maybe some people, when you hear what I say, you maybe agree with me and you don't care whether you can make a lot of money. And I'd like to be an altruistic person. If I can make other people so happy, I do feel joyful. Yeah, so there was, Kunti has a friend who was a young girl, only just about 20 years old, and she went to Africa in a very dangerous country, and ever since she went there, she really liked the experience, and she went from one country to another, and she couldn't stop. And even though the parents were worried at the beginning, but they really supported her, and we also felt very touched by such a girl who always are passionate about helping others. And so young people, when you choose your career, if you have a mind that you want to give back to the society, you want to contribute to the world and to help others, this is really wonderful. And so parents, when you are helping your children to choose a career, maybe you would also like to guide them into this direction. And so Joy said, one of my friend, his child chose to work in charity. In the United States, they also have poorer places, and so she went to teach in a poor place. You can teach there for 2 years, and so you're welcome to stay after the 2 years, and which is normal. And actually, they all choose the best students from very prestigious school or university, and they are very strict in picking students from those prestigious schools to teach there. And the parents are also very happy when the children can go there, and these students, when they're picked, they're very happy, and then it really helped them to have a very good value and outlook of life. And so we can see that some experiences are positive and some are negative, and some big companies like Apple, Google, Microsoft, Amazon. If you go to a big company to sell something, or in the food industry, like McDonald's, it has franchises all over the world. The management is the hardest. If you are just one part of the restaurant, and you can see how complicated the management is and how good order it is, and then you understand how complicated management can be. Sometimes a family can be, it's a sweet home, but it's probably not very organized. And then you say, oh, where's my key? And you just try to find it everywhere. Maybe that's a good person, but all of us, but not very organized. But once you work in McDonald's for a year, then you'll become more organized. And if you go to a very good hotel, then you'll be even more organized, and you would also be standing in a right posture. And if you go to be join the army for a few years, and then you would learn to follow the rules and procedures. And if you work in a research institute, and they also have very strict lines, and even toothpicks will be in order. Yeah, everything will be in strict order. And if you go to the washroom, then you might need to count your minutes. Sometimes you think that it's too strict, or that it's very, like, they have very good orders, and everything is organized. A family, if it's organized, then how to put the furnitures, how to put the dirty clothes. Okay, this small basket is for underwear, or that's for outside clothes, and that's for shoes or what. And so everything is very organized and in order. Do you think it's necessary? But Joy said, no, I don't think so. Well, maybe in a research institute, then you think that's very important. And at home, maybe not. And if you are a doctor, then you would think that would be organization is very important. Yeah, you cannot pick the wrong medicine, like a pharmacist, you pick the wrong medicine, or, yeah. Actually, some orders are very important and necessary. So you don't make mistakes, right? If you are very clear-minded, then these orders can help us to have very good order and organize, and we can form a good habit. If you're in a medical industry, or if you have been in the army for a few years, then when you do things, you will be very organized and have very good order. If you haven't been in these industries, and maybe your home is very messy, or your room is very messy. Yeah. If the parents are also used to the messy home, then the whole house would be a mess. Yeah. There used to be a writer who was in Qinghai, and he wrote a very good story, and someone introduced him to me. And so I thought, okay, I'd like to visit him. And I knocked at the door. He came out in his wife's pants. But I look at the color. It was not like a man's color. And suddenly he noticed, that's ladies' pants. And then, but he always liked things. And I said, well, are you in ladies' pants? He said, oh, no, I'm so sorry. I was in shorts before, and then I heard the knocking at the door, so I just grabbed one and put it on. And so... So when we're experiencing these, learning in the trouble, we may have positive experience and negative experience, and maybe you learn about nutrition. And if you're in butcher, well, because you are working there, and then you have to also do the work, and maybe you have to also do the killing, and then the workers would say, maybe they will just use electricity to kill them, and that's more merciful. And you dare not do that, maybe they will push your hands there. And then you think like, oh, the first time maybe you killed the chicken, and after a while they said, oh, now you're tired, I'll give you some chicken. And then you suddenly notice that those the chicken that you have just killed, and then you almost were threw out. But after a few times, you maybe are used to it. And so
期望对社会，你加入到这个社会这个行列中来，你扮演了一个什么样的角色？
You need to think about when you come to the society, what role are you planning to play? And so some people, if they have that kind of killing experience, and maybe they would think that in the future they will never do that again, and they will definitely be far, far away from it. And some people, that becomes a lesson that they learn. And so they want to avoid this kind of job, and so this becomes like a precept that they can never do this. But learn in McDonald's about the management, and that's good. You can learn the management, learn about the rules, and so learning about how careful and strict in these management can make things well. And it was, if you have never heard about it, never see and never learn, then it would be a lack of experience. So for migrant birds, maybe we would learn in the travel, we'll have maybe 1 or 2 years of experience, and we have enriched our experience. We already know what we like and what we don't. And so then, should we start to settle down? And Grandmaster says yes. And so in today's society, it doesn't matter man or woman. To a certain age, maybe from 20 years old to 32 years old, in these 12 years, you would study, maybe go have a post-secondary education, and then you will maybe find a partner and find a job. So these 3 main things will be done in these 12 years. These 3 things are the 3 most important things in the life, and you need to work very hard to make all these 3 better. It's actually very hard to do well. So last time, Grandmaster, you mentioned that we need to choose depending on our strengths, and maybe we can see our strength, and maybe we can refer to our parents' career. So, but I think today's young people, I found that they are not eager to, get married, or not eager to find a job. So last time, I think Florence Cho said her child is about to graduate. Just in 3 months, he's going to graduate, but he's still addicted to computer games. He has a part-time job, and he actually has a good major in computer science. He can find a good job, but he has no motivation. He doesn't want to work hard, and he just wants to find a very easy job and just go by days. And this is actually maybe are very, like, he wants an easy life that lets him simply get by each day. And so what can he do? Oh, are you asking me this question? What to do? So Grandmaster says, these are usually a Chinese family. They're full of love, but then they have no boundaries. And so just love, like unconditionally love. And so they have good family relationship. But to a certain point, when the child is still 26 years old and still playing computer games, then the parents are now worried because they're still so addicted, and maybe the child even spent a lot on the credit card because of playing the computer games, and then the parents started to regret. To solve this problem is easy. Western people are very good at solving these problems. Well, just send them out. I'll give you $2,000 as a starting fee, whatever. And then it's up to you. So unless you really cannot survive alive, you can come back, but you still have to pay the rent. It sounds unreasonable, but the benefit is that this child, once I watched a movie, a big eagle. It was very strange how the eagle teach how he teach the little young eagle. After 3 or 5 months, the young eagle, the baby eagle, start to have some feather, and then the mother eagle kick the little eagle out. But eagles usually live on the like on the cliff, because then it's easier for them to have good views to see where they can hunt for food. So the big eagle just kicked the little eagle out. It was like actually very cruel. So that family, they had 2 eagles. One young eagle actually broke the leg. So it actually is like depending on whether the universe wants you to survive. And so the little eagle like rolled down and didn't die, and then the old eagle will demonstrate to fly, and then the little eagle will follow to fly, and then drop down, and then the old eagles think, okay, now you already know how to fly. So one of those eagles learned to fly, but the other eagle actually died. So this mother eagle, to be an eagle or a bear is not very easy. Either you die or you become a strong eagle. So ever since the eagle was learning how to fly, they already start to learn this. So for Florence Choi, I would say the best way is to wean him. So a lot of young people would think, you're very compassionate. How come you're so cruel? But this is great compassion. If in case your parents suddenly die, and if they don't have any savings and they only had debts, how do you survive? You don't know how to make a living. If they wean you and stop giving you any food or any money, you have to think about it yourself. Have you ever calculated when you use your parents' credit card to pay for everything? Have you ever thought about 1 month of money that you spend? Actually, you can use it for maybe 6 months if you have to pay for that yourself. And so if you stop providing anything to them, the child would definitely be able to survive. So this is actually a natural instinct, like they will naturally know how to survive. So Joy said, actually, maybe you should, parents, you probably need to start reminding them ever since the child was a little child, and so they can get prepared when after they're at this age, then you can kick them out, and so they can be independent. But a lot of times, Grandmaster says, the parents, Chinese parents, they always cannot do that. I know there was a Chinese celebrity. I'm not going to tell you the name. And he actually had, he was a disciple of a very famous Buddhist master. And his son, when he came to visit me, he came to Vancouver and visited me. At that time, I was in my 30s. And when he saw me, he was crying. And he said, oh, no. My son is already 45 and 46-year-old. He's still in Italy, and still I have to pay for everything for him. And I said, well.
所以他女朋友跟他分手了，女朋友还要个什么3万块钱分手费，还得让他妈给寄过去，有完没完了
？Yeah, even his girlfriend left him, and his girlfriend asked $30,000, and his mother had to pay for that.
这就能挣钱，挺能蒙钱。
So this mother always are very good at earning money, but all the money, he would just give to the son, and however the son just used the money for girlfriends, and so he had multiple number of girlfriends. And no, I don't think any girl is really too in love with him. He doesn't have anything that he really is working on, and he has no skill even to make a living. So how dare any girl to marry him? And when the girls approach him, they all think that, his mother is very good at making money. But that's a failure of life. And when he was 53 years old, he came back to the United States. And so, this celebrity, she earned a lot of money, but all the money has been used by her son. Or son or daughter. Yeah. Anyways, so this is a story that you can refer to. Definitely, parents need to wean your child. Yeah, the later, the harder to wean them. Yeah. So remember the old Chinese very famous story about the red mansions, Jia Baoyu. And he was very good at writing poems and very quick in writing poems. And he even doesn't cut his nails, and he doesn't even wear clothes himself. He cannot even do anything, basic, daily needs. Yeah, so his name was a beautiful jade, but then this jade becomes a candy and eventually completely melted and rotten. And so all these luxurious or good living conditions actually spoil the child, and because the child doesn't have any opportunity to grow, so that's a pity. So Grandmaster, you said we should grow in those cracks and, in the hardship, and only in the hardship that these resilience will grow. And actually, we actually heard about a story. Yeah, so that's why Grandmaster didn't recommend everybody to start a business. Yeah, because if you don't have that ability and resilience, you'd better not do that. A lot of people who are successful, they really had that very good ability and resilience. Well, in ancient China, Han Xin had a very famous experience that they fight with the water behind them, and so they eventually succeeded. So that story is like you fight with the other person, and you are like standing right in front of a river, and if you step back, you would drown in the water. Or remember in that story when Han Xin was fighting with his enemy actually had 200,000 soldiers, and Han Xin only had 30,000 people. At that time, if the generals they didn't manage well, the soldiers usually want to go away, to fled, because they don't want to be a soldier because it's so easy to get killed. And so that's why he put those soldiers like in front of the river so that they cannot fled. And also because the enemies, they have like so many times more soldiers than Han Xing's soldiers. And so because if they are defeated, they will be killed. And if they step back and if they want to surrender, they will be killed by the river. And so like they have to fight forward. And his success also includes some tactics, like some strategies. He sent some people who go to the enemy's camps. Yeah. So at that time there were two countries, Chu and Han. So Han Xing belongs to the Han country. And their flags are red. And so they send 2,000 people who go to their camps and put their Han flags into their camp, and then they would also put on the drums. And so when the soldiers were fighting with the Han soldiers, suddenly they found that their camps are all full of the Han flags. And so when they look at their own headquarters, they say, oh no, the headquarters is already occupied by the Han soldiers. And you know, the road was very narrow. So even though they have 200,000 soldiers, it's so narrow that they can only have like 50 people standing there. So even if you have so many people, then they have to step on each other. The lesser people, it would be easier for them to fight. For the 200,000 people, they're stepping on each other because they were in a mess. They saw that the soldiers who are not afraid of dying, and so these 200,000 soldiers were completely in a mess. And then the Han soldiers killed all the people. The 30,000 soldiers actually defeated the 200,000 soldiers. So that became a very, very famous battle. Parents, it's in the same circumstances. Maybe you find a job and maybe your boss criticized you but didn't dismiss you. A lot of young people, especially 3 years after they graduate from the university, they cannot get wronged. And they're like prince or princesses. And then they go to find a job and they say, oh no, they're criticized. They don't want to live up. They cannot handle it. And so these parents think, oh no, how dare he criticize my child, and then I'll go talk to them. And so how can your child face his bosses and employers in the future? And so these parents are actually hurting them. If you're a wise parent, you cannot hurt them in this way. If you do that, how can the child's company keep this child working there, right? Can everybody treat your child as a baby? Yeah, it's like in a preschool, and and the parents go to talk to the teacher when the child feels wrong. And you know, in the past, usually when the teacher criticized a child, then the parents usually will also criticize the child. But now, it's a little different. Yeah, so some people, they these young people, they cannot be wrong. They say, oh, I don't care how much I earn, but I cannot be wrong. And, maybe that's a very trivial thing. And if the company has already stipulated that, oh no, you cannot put garbage anywhere, and then you haven't put the garbage into the garbage bin, and so this breaks the rule, and so your manager might think, no, you cannot do that. And then you feel ashamed, and then you feel bad, and then maybe because of that, then you didn't do your work well, and then your manager will scold you again, and then maybe you want to dismiss and you want to rebel. And so Joy said, oh, sometimes they're some people, they're so sensitive and so fragile. If someone said, oh, if someone just happened to say, oh, they make a joke, maybe they say, oh, maybe you should lose some weight, and then this child cannot bear it anymore. Yeah, and sometimes you think, oh no, I'm graduated from maybe Oxford University or from Cambridge, or oh no, how can the manager criticize me, and they cannot bear it, and then they would just stay home and they cannot support themselves, and they might even be depressed. So Grandmaster said, if you are renting your room, and your salary is like 3,000, and then the rental is like 2,000, and then if you don't go to work, how can you survive? And if you dismiss from that company, how can you find another job? And so those who dare to fight with the manager, usually they have the most lovely parents, because the parents would say, no, we don't want to serve those managers. Mom has money. Yes, this mom is supporting the parent, but you are actually killing your child with the lukewarm water, and then it's it's like when they're cooking a frog with the lukewarm water. When the frog wants to jump out, he suddenly found that the lukewarm water has already cooked the legs, and he cannot jump anymore. So a lot of Chinese families, they love their children but actually harm their children. A lot of Western parents, they seems to be, sometimes they seem to be cruel, but actually, we want to maybe find something in between. Yeah, you need to help your child to be independent. Some children would think, oh, my parents brought me up but now they don't care about me. Maybe you don't want to wean, like stop milk right away. Maybe you need to have a gradual process, but the earlier you start to prepare for that, the better. Yeah, because when it's too late, then it's too late. So for a young people, if you dare to listen further to this class, do you know that you, so what is the English for that? You don't know, it's probably there's no dignity. Oh, no, it's not dignity. I mean, those backbone or strength of character. So don't think that your parents, everything that your parents has is yours. You don't think after they die that would be yours. What if your parents would use them up or donate all of them? And even if you're the only child, they don't want to give you. It's legal for them not to give that asset to you or money to you, right? Someone who has a moral integrity or has a backbone, then you need to be very independent. If you want to have a backbone, like behave like a man, or a woman, then you need to be independent, because otherwise how can you have that backbone? Latest at 30 years old, you need to be independent. That's the deadline. So, yes, in English, 骨气 means backbone. Yes, you need to support yourself. So those who have the backbone, you need to, minimum after 22 years old, you need to make a living yourself. At home, maybe you don't pay for your rent, but at least you can buy groceries for your family. At least you are making contributions to your family. So this is reasonable, so that you are creating something, you are contributing. The worst would be like, oh, my parents have money, why should I go out and work? If you go out to work, you have a boss, that's natural. If you don't even have a boss, what company is that? So you definitely need to have this backbone. All your expenses should be earned by yourself instead of grabbing from your parents. So this means that you have the backbone. Okay, let's talk about someone who has a backbone. Yeah. So when they find a job, should they find a big company or a smaller company? Maybe a bigger company would have better benefits and better rules and better regulations, but smaller companies will be more flexible, but unclear future. Yeah. So, well, you're right, Grandmaster says. And big companies are less likely to get bankrupted, right? Smaller companies in every country, there are 1,000 small companies, small business will close. So in a big company, it's less likely to bankrupt, and maybe they have a market value of like $5 billion, and maybe at least it takes 5 years for them to completely, die. And so, and they also have a good name. Yes, it's famous company. And then if you say, oh, I'm in the one of the 500 best companies, or it doesn't care. Yeah, so when you tell others, oh, I'm working in this company, and so even if you're just like a screw, you work as a very low place, and maybe in a big company they have their own property, or they rent at a very good location. Yeah, it depends on which industry, right? Maybe young people, they think in bigger companies, they would have more experiences, they have bigger projects, and these experiences would be good. But in some smaller companies, you don't have too many opportunities to create. And yeah, in the bigger companies, you don't have that much experience to create. You have to do the same thing day after day. So I'd like to ask you too. Grandmaster says, in a big company, is it easy to get promoted in a bigger company? So Joy said it's usually harder in a bigger company because there are more competitions. In a big company, yes, it would be pretty hard to get promoted unless you're a Superman or Superwoman. Otherwise, it's very hard. That's the disadvantage of a bigger company. Yeah. And in bigger companies, even if you get promoted, it would be very hard to be promoted to a very high position. And I have classmates who goes to very big companies, and they actually have a very good life. They can buy a house and they can buy a dog, and their children can go to private schools, but they immediately see their career ceiling. They see, yeah, that however well that they work well, and they can still that's the minimum, that's the maximum that they can get. And so in a bigger company, it's probably more stable, but it's hard for you to have to make wonders. So those are the disadvantage of bigger companies. Let's talk about smaller companies. So smaller companies. Oh, when the boat is smaller, it's easy to change directions, right? You're almost like you're robbing a bank or something. Wherever whichever direction the police comes, you can go anywhere. But anyways, in a small company, you can always see your boss all the time. And in a small company, especially those companies that are still growing, it's probably more interesting. In a bigger company, you probably, if you're drawing something, you always do repetitive job. Yeah, in a bigger company, yeah, I've seen a movie like that's played by Chaplin. He always, turn a screw, and he just do that only one job, and that becomes, he almost is like a robot, or like he always do the same thing repetitively and never had any change, or let alone creations. In a small company, maybe you would have opportunities to even assemble the whole machine. And then you found, oh, you're the one who assembled it, and you're also the person to purchase, and you have the opportunity also to sell and bargain, and maybe you're complaining a lot. You see, oh, I have to do these, I have to even do grocery, or even look after the babysitting. Oh my gosh, don't laugh. So, but also all these experiences help you to grow experiences. And so Joy said that my classmates, yes, they have a very good job, but another classmate started his own business, and he actually experienced a lot of ups and downs, but of course this is more colorful. Yeah, in a small company you did almost everything, maybe like managing the company, or even negotiations, and buying and selling, and so you are trained in many different aspects. A lot of people, maybe they're good at one skill, say for example making this cup. The technician who make the cup, their energy is on how to make the cups better, and how to make more, but they're not very good at selling. So some people are very good at selling the cup, but they don't know how to make the cup. Is there anyone who are good at both making and selling? Yes. Very few. But because of the environment or their own predestined concept. If so they only do one thing. But it would be so good if you can do everything yourself. But those people who are very limited to only making the cup, when they're selling the cup, they don't know what to say. So in a small company, you would have more opportunities to get trained and experience in many different fields and many different aspects. A growing company maybe also be beneficial for your future, and maybe you would go through difficulties together with your manager and boss and your employer. And in a big company, you probably don't have any opportunity to go through difficulties. Yeah, you don't even know what's happening. Yeah, maybe they had 30,000 employees and 20 of them get dismissed, and you don't even know why. And so it depends on what kind of life you want. If you want to have a colorful life, then maybe a smaller company. But if you want a very stable life, you just want to turn the screw, then yeah. So we're just talking about the advantages and disadvantages of bigger companies and smaller companies. So actually, my father told me one thing when he was an apprentice and he was learning to be a construction worker. Actually now, it's actually a very popular job now. When my father started to be an apprentice, he was only 13 years old, and he learned from his master. And how did he learn? He started to babysit for his master's wife. Well, this has nothing to do with building a house. And so, the master's wife had two additional babies, and she doesn't have time to look after all of them. And so can you help to babysit the two kids? And so he had to put all the kids under his arm and say, oh no, they're all both crying, what can I do? And so at that time, you don't have those modern toilets, right? It's very cold in the north, right? North China. They have those, those old-fashioned toilets. And so he was babysitting and buying groceries and cooking, and he was doing all these housework at the beginning for a year and a half. And so he was he waited until another new apprentice finally arrived, and so he finally graduated. He goes to the master and started to learn how to work. And so he said, his master asked him to mix the mud and create the mud mixture. And my father said, it's so tiring. And every night after, the first 3 days, like he wasn't able to walk after mixing the mud for 3 days. And at that time, he had to, so his master just bought boots for him. And he, they don't have mixers. And so, yeah, in the winter it's so cold, so they got those boots for him to step on the mud. And so at the Chinese New Year, And he went back home. He said, "Oh no, it was so hard. I don't want to go there anymore. I stayed there for 2 years. The first 1 year and a half, I just babysit, and the next 6 months, I just mixed the mud." And so my grandmother said,
先把土怎么弄？先把土里头刨个坑，中间刨个坑，像个锅一样，那才能存水啊。
So so when he mixed that, he would have to put the appropriate amount of water into.
我前的时候往里放麦草，麦草要切的3寸长。
And then he need to put some straw in it, and then
这个比如说1吨的土。要放多少这个麦草
So it depends how many so there's a ratio of how many water, how much water, how much straw, and then how much
你想让我做瞎子吗？我爷爷想说你师傅是个好师傅。
And then how much this ingredients, how much that ingredients. And then my grandfather said, your master is a good master. You have to go there. He left home at the beginning at 13 years old, and then he came back at 15 years old. But then my grandmaster said, your master is a very good master. Whatever he asks you to do, you have to do it. Don't complain. And then after my grandfather said that, my father had to accept it, even though it was so tiring. But my father learned a lot. Even just to mix the mud, he was able to learn 18 different kind of mud mixture. And he was when he was able to create 18 kinds of mud mixture, because of that skill, he was able to
用土和其他东西白灰还有东西混合之后，可以做出炮弹都不容易打透的城墙。
Yeah, he was able to
他就和师傅一起
mix
修老的佛庙。
a kind of lime and mud and that kind of mud mixture, so that the wall would be so strong.
还能把他们压死，怎么样还能保住自己的命，还把房修好，
Yeah,
对不对？
they would be able to protect themselves, and they can. You need skills, you need experiences, and his master took him to everywhere and do every job. And every job that they do, even now when you look at their work, it's so excellent. And even though it seems to be like a very simple thing, yeah, they need to put bricks on into different shapes and different pillars. Maybe it's a hexagon, maybe this is a yeah. My father can do all kinds of arch gates. In China, at that time, they don't have cements. They need to put the stones together so that the arch, it's very, very strong how to make that. My father learned all of that, without cement, without sticks, and without anything. So my father's master always yell at him, but he also teaches him everything. And he was just a construction worker, and he was able to do everything, including carving the wood. And so when he was 30 years old, he was able to accept all kinds of job in construction. And, so he was able to repair and renovate those dangerous houses and buildings in a very simple way. And so the closer for you to be with your employer, with your boss, maybe you will receive more criticism, but you also learn more. and you become like you're like know all. Like all powerful, and you become the master. So that's the benefit of being close to the master or close to the boss. But the disadvantage is that if you're in a small company, you say, oh, nobody has heard of that company, and then you feel like you lose face. So some young people say, oh, they're so proud that they work into the 500, one of the 500 strongest or best companies. This is just a perception, right? It's just like someone holding a famous bag. What if the brand name was, inside the bag, and nobody knows that this is a brand name? And so if you're holding a very famous brand name bag, you have to put the logo on top. Yeah, so if you really like those brand name bags or clothes, and you make sure to put the logo on top, and better not to peel off the price tag, and so everybody can see. Wow, Grandmaster, your father's story is very inspiring. Yes. First is perseverance, and secondly, to look long term. Don't look at just the names and the fame, or don't only look at the face thing. And we need to get ready to go through hardship, and go through hardship together with the employer. And so we also need to be humble. A lot of university graduates, they actually, the more prestigious, famous the school, the university is, it actually hurts them more. If they think that they're a graduate from Harvard University or Yale, those are all good universities. Everybody knows these universities are good, but some graduates from those universities, because they're still young, and they think that, I'm from Harvard, and then they're too arrogant, and then the employers dare not hire you, because if if they don't pay you much, then you still cannot do as well as an ordinary university graduate. Even if you pay like 100,000, then you're not happy. But if I hire an ordinary graduate, university graduate, maybe they're happy with 300,000. Yeah. So this arrogance is like terrible. How many employers are graduated from Harvard, right? A lot of prestigious universities trained a lot of dentists and lawyers, but they're not employers. A lot of times, what hinders us that we cannot be very humble and modest to accept unpleasant things in our work. If you're a graduate from a prestigious university, or maybe you're famous, you have a famous father or mother, and then you think that, you're very rich, and then it's very hard. You don't know how to be. If you are being instructed, then you feel like being criticized. Actually, a lot of times when they criticize you, you're actually being trained and being taught. So a lot of times our mindset will determine whether this is a good thing or not. Some young people that I see, that they have very rich families, and a lot of times they are super intelligent, super smart, but no use.
就入洞了。
Only one-time criticism, then they will lock them inside and do not want to do anything. And they don't go out and find a job and do not find a girlfriend or boyfriend. And then the parents would be so worried, and the child would just lock themselves in. And it was... Sorry, I'm too emotional. Maybe. So we cannot do that. We need to be very firm. We need to know what is good and what is bad. Grandmaster tell us so many stories so that we can actually know what to do and know what is good.
甚至有的时候都不能回家。那家中的父母呢，年纪也大了。
Master, there's a question from our online friend. He says, I have a friend, he has a great job offer, but it requires him to leave his hometown. It means that he might only be able to come home on holidays. His parents are seniors already. Should he choose a job closer to home or leave home and pursue a better job? He doesn't like the job closer to home, and the salary is just normal. He cannot put his potential and talent to work as well, but he will be able to take care of his parents. Master says, I can't really give you guidance on what to do. In your heart, between whether it's closer to home or having more salary, which is more important to you? It is your choice, because I am not you. It really depends on where your value is, what your value is. Whether taking care of your parents is more important or developing your career is more important. There's no right or wrong. If we talk about reincarnation and life cycle, then are you going to be going up into the heaven or falling down? There's no right or wrong, and I cannot tell you definitely do this. And you might not even listen to me either. You have to make the decision yourself. And there's, thank you, Master. There's another question. His question is, I have a friend who is an engineer at Apple. He has a great annual salary. His manager likes him, and he's about to be promoted. However, his dream is to be a YouTuber. He wants to quit his job and start his dream. None of his family or friends thinks it's a good idea, and they even criticize him for it. Should he be courageous, leave his comfort zone and pursue his dream? Or should he just keep his feet on the ground and work at Apple? It's just like the example we talked about previously. I'm not going to give you an answer. It's your own decision. But I want to give you some guidance. Having a new and higher pursuit is actually a good thing. But it's like when I was young, there was a young boy who was similar to my age. It was when I was in Tibet. Sometimes when we sleep, he would suddenly wake up in the middle of night and laughing. I would ask him, what is it? He said he would say that, oh, I had a dream, I got married, and I didn't want to wake up. And when I woke up, it's just a dream. But even though it's just a dream, he was so happy. As a YouTuber, to do a good job at it, let's discuss it. As a YouTuber, you're not successful yet. Although you can go live online, would you be successful? And there are so many YouTubers. Can you be more successful than they are? When you go to watch other people's program, they have already become very successful. If they were not successful, you wouldn't be able to see their videos. For example, why I am live streaming, I have no other way out. Because of the pandemic, our online friends are all over the world. I have to lecture online. And I don't think I'm a true YouTuber. I don't think you've thought about it thoroughly. You have a good job, but you want to quit the job and become a YouTuber. I want to remind you that there is great risk. Even if you try it out for a year, you might use up all your savings and still not successful. And there is a high risk. Although you might not die from it, maybe you become very successful. But it's just a dream. It's like my childhood's friend. He was laughing, waking up from a dream. But for you, 1 year later, you might not be laughing, you might be crying. If you want to become a YouTuber, I think it's like a dream, but your dream hasn't even started yet. And this dream of yours, is it an auspicious dream or is it a nightmare? Whether it's auspicious or not, it's just a dream. It might not come true. If you are courageous and you want to fight, over 99% they become mentors. Only maybe 1% will become very successful. Thank you, Master. We understand. What is it to thank for? I didn't tell you what to do. We all understand it. And the next question is from Charlie. Charlie says that when he was in university, he got I got my bachelor degree in computer science. After graduation, I realized that the skills we learn in university is far different from the skills required in a job. Many times when I applied for software engineer, I failed the interview because of unqualified skills. I have two choices right now. First is going to grad school and improve my knowledge and skill, but I will need to take a part-time job to pay for tuition. My second choice is to start working in an IT administration job. Although it is not the same as my degree in software engineering, it's related. It's in IT industry. How should I choose? Thank you, Master. Master says, I don't have a clear answer, but I remember that when my father learned the skill, he started with a very simple job, and he has actually learned more. If you start with a very advanced job, then it's very risky. So Charlie, do you want to live or die? Make the decision yourself. Can you understand me? Thank you, Master. The next question is from William. Dear Master, my name is William. I am 24 years old, and I graduated from university 2.5 years ago. I just started my job and invest a lot of time in it. I often travel for business and work overtime. My work hour and workplace are unstable. I don't have any free time to consider starting a family. Master, how should I view and balance work and starting a family? Should I start a family early, then focus on work? Or should I focus on work and start a family after my work is stable? Or should I do both at the same time and just balance it? So William is confused. He wants to start a family and make a career, and he thinks that his current job doesn't give him time to get into a relationship. This is childish. He's only 24 years old. He's too young. So his question is selfish. Whether you can get a relationship or not, it depends on how charming you are. William, this name sounds like a man, right? If you are charming, wherever there are ladies, even if you are homeless, you will be able to find someone to be with you. Say that I grew up in a city. I dress nicely and I can find a wife. But people from villagers, from the rural area, they can also find a wife too. Do you think that you have to quit a job to find to be in a relationship? It's two different issues. They don't delay each other. If you don't have a job, you will not be able to find a relationship. When you have a job, you are more attractive, and you will have the financial support to take a girl out. So, being in a relationship, there's no specific time for it, and they could be done together at the same time. If you find someone you like, even if you don't go to bed, you will have to talk to her and be with her. If you are not charming enough, even if you are surrounded by girls, you will still be single. No one will be talking to you. They only want your help to move furniture. So it doesn't delay one another. And William, don't worry. And I have a very good suggestion. A person, if you want to be more charming, remember, ability generates charisma. The more ability you have, the more charismatic you are. And to the point that people will forget how you look. Some people who have a lot of ability, they might not have very good looks. But when you have a lot of ability, they will overlook your appearance, especially for men. So ability generates charisma. If you need to have ability. So I hope that you will be diligent, help other people more, help them to change light bulbs, and you will have more chances. And be outgoing. Did I say it clearly? Sometimes I'm clear, sometimes I'm not. It's very clear. Zhuzhen says ability generates charisma. Master says especially for men. Man, it doesn't matter what your appearance is. There is another question from a lady. Dear Master, I'm in deep trouble. Please help me. Previously, I worked at a non-profit organization. Although I really like my job, the pay is much lower than others. A few months ago, a company found me and made a great offer. And when I was quitting my job, the non-profit organization wanted to give me a raise, which almost matches the company's offer. However, I still chose to try the new job. I've been working at the new company for 2 months, and it troubles me every day. I hate this job. The onboarding process is horrible, and the company is a mess. I really hate it. And now I'm thinking that should I go back to work at the non-profit organization? If I go back, the pay is not as good, but I will be happier. So she doesn't know what to do and wants Master's guidance. Master said there was a high school child who came to find me. And he came to talk to me crying because although the parents spend a lot of money to put him in a private school, the child is very painful and he's pressured. When I talked to him, he said that I really hate the school. How about the teachers? How about the classmates? None of them are good. When I asked them more about it, I found out that it's because the education and his classmates are very good, and his average grade is only 20 marks. But other people can make it to 90. They can get 90. And when he thinks about it, he feels ashamed. But when he was in his old school, he was in the middle. He felt confident, and he can look at other people. He can look at other people's face. And in the new private school, he can only walk looking down at his toes. There's a very big gap. And for Sharon's problem, maybe you have great abilities, but in the new company made you unhappy. Why is this company in a mess but can pay you a high, pay you a lot of money? When you're at a non-profit organization, they're not there for profit, and so they are less pressured than business companies. And in some business companies, if you don't do well, the manager will fire you. Say that if you go to buy a car in Canada, the car sales, say that if you don't speak English and you want to find someone who speaks Chinese, how do they earn their salary? They have a minimum salary, and they make more money through how much car they can sell. If they sell a lot of cars, they might be able to earn $50,000 every year. Otherwise, they might be able to earn $30,000 every year. And if they have a good attitude and they have good skills, they might be able to earn more money. So your salary is tied to your service. And if you cheat other people, they can sue you and you'll be imprisoned. And so they have their standards. When you are in a gentle environment, and whether you come or not, you will be paid. And even if you come to work late, they won't deduct your salary. If you fight with other people, you won't be fired for it. Many people who work at non-profit organizations are very kind, and they are very charitable. And the employment manager, the management is also very gentle too. And maybe you are just suitable to work in an organization where there's no pressure. You're used to it. When you're used to it, of course you can compete with other companies. So I actually object for her to go back to the non-profit organization. You should challenge yourself and fight in the business company so that you can make a living with your abilities. And have you played games before? Playing games is different than walking energy bagua. Walking energy bagua, you're just walking in circles every day. But if you are playing games or when you're exercising every day, you do a harder routine. No matter what you are learning, do you want to learn with people who are not as good as you are, or you want to learn with people who are better than you are? Say that if you learn dancing, some people can bend their waist into an alphabet C, but you're not as good, so you have to just practice and learn slowly. And say that if your tutor cannot even bend at all, then what can you learn? If you learn from that trainer, then you might hurt yourself.
会
So
有
you
挑
have
战的
to
感觉，会有
learn
难度
from
和痛苦的
someone
感觉
who's
但是是提升
very
呀
good at it. Although it might feel
像我父
hard
亲
and
从看孩子
challenging,
开始在学
but
艺
you will
不
be
是
able
同
to
样一个道理
improve
吗
yourself
他都有
more.
挑战的
My
我父亲
father
那时候才
started
13岁
learning,
本来就是个儿
started
童
taking care of other children, and he was a child himself too. Master, when you talked about how your father learned to
但是
mix concrete,
他所学到
it
的
was
哈
very
这
challenging
2
and
年
very
下来
difficult too.
他光
But after
各种
Master
泥
says
巴的这
after
种
2
技术
years of
他当
mixing
时走遍中国
concrete and
混饭是
mixing
保
mud,
证不是问题
he was able to find a job
不管
anywhere,
高级的低级的他都能做
and
你就练到手了
his
所以我
skills
觉
are
得我
needed
们
in
的
all
工作
construction
的选
companies,
择上
and
来
he's
说应该
learned
选
the
择稍稍
skill
有
for
点挑
himself.
战的但是
And
不
so
要一
when
选
we're
就死的
choosing
那
a
种对
job,
不对
we
根本
should
做不了
choose a job that has a
根
little
本没
bit
法比
challenge.
的是吧
But we shouldn't
你有
choose a
点
job
残
that
疾你
has
非要
too
去参
much
加长
challenge
跑
that
运动
you
会去
cannot
就拉
compete
倒
in
了
it
可
at
能好
all.
吧所以要选择就是努力
So
一下
we should
可能我能提升
choose a
这
job
种是
where
可以
if
的
we work
啊
hard, then
所以的话
maybe
呢这
we
个
can
这个
improve
身份这个问
ourselves.
题的话
And
我
so
让你觉得有安
in
慰感
Sharon's
我同意你
question,
还回
if
到
I
慈善
want
机构
to
但是我觉得你有点
comfort
骗子的
you,
行
then
为
I can tell you to go
对不
back
对
to
你
the
在那可以得
nonprofit
过且过
organization.
其实
But I think it's
你听着
cheating.
你也是那
You
样是开
cannot
心的
just
但是我就把你给废了
let the day flow by in the nonprofit. Otherwise, you will be
安
wasting
逸
your
也没
life.
法安逸如果
Even
慈善
if
机构
you
这个人也觉悟
choose,
了你不是已经辞职了吗你得找回去人家不
say
要
that if you have already
我已
quit
经用
the
同样
job
的
as a
钱找了另
nonprofit
外一位工作人员
organization,
你
even
看
when you
他
go
的是什
back,
么素
they
质
might not want to take you
非常
back.
高的素
They
质
might have
那个人还
already
要你
hired someone
慈
who's
善
even
机构有
better
很多
than
容
you
忍
are
但
with the
任何
same
的容忍都是
salary
有限度
that you had.
你应该接受新的那个挑战
You should accept the
你
new
在那不快
challenge.
乐了不去找自己的
Although
原因
you
你把不
are
快乐的原因
unhappy
就
there,
怪
you
在了
should
对方的
find the
公司上去
reason
他那
on
么混乱的
yourself
公司怎么给你
and
那么多
don't
钱
put a peanut on the
他
company.
混不混乱是他的事儿你怎么知道他是混
Whether
乱
the company is a mess or not,
对你
how
干不
do
好
you
才
know
挨骂
it?
多嘛挨骂多
Only
一不高
because
兴说那
you
公司就不好
are
不
not
要盲目的
doing a good job. That's why they are
我们
criticizing
学
you.
禅修
So
的
we
人往
should
往都
look
是不
into
要把责任
ourselves.
都去加给别
We
人而要究竟自己我做错了什么
When we learn meditation, we should
这
not
样
put all the
要扪
responsibility
心
onto
自问
other people. We
才
should
能
ask
觉悟呀
ourselves. Only when we ask
我说
ourselves,
的话
then
有
we
点
can
厉害
awaken.
哈哎但是这是真正的出路
And this is
你
the
越退
true
就是
way
我给你
out.
找一个跳舞的教练他根本就不会
If you
动
take a
所以他
step
对
back,
你没有压力所以你
If
能
you
活蹦乱跳
find
他觉得已经
the
很羡慕你
dance
了对不
teacher
对
who cannot even dance,
所以我
then
给你
there's
一
no
个更有
pressure
难
at
度
all.
他
So
确实
I
跳
want
得比你
to
好
give you
你
some
才能提
challenge.
升
Find a trainer who is a better dancer, who give you more
对
challenge.
他总是这样子，在一个瘟疫
Quinty
的环境
says
中，早晚有一
there are
天
more
会被
and more
淘汰的。
competition nowadays.
是
If she's always in
所以
such a
你
gentle
技不如人
environment,
怎么办呢
she'll
努力
be
学呀
abandoned
长到老
in
学
the
到老
future.
要
And so
这样
we, Master says, we should always be learning, no matter how
刚
old
才那
we
些都
are.
比较是年轻人的哈，现在就
So
到
those
稍
are
微
some
有点年龄的
questions
人的
are
问题了。
from
有个网
younger
友说，
adults.
师
And
傅
this
好，
is
弟子
another
是做
question
IT
from
行
someone
业的，
who's
今年
older.
38岁。
Master,
我
I
在
am
公司呢也是
38
中高
years
管理
old
者
and I am in the
但
IT
是呢，就这个
industry. I
管理
am
的
a
工作呢，需要
mid-level
很大的精力
management.
来维护人际
And
关系，
in this
而
job,
且
I
对
have
上
to
对
use
下
a
要
lot of
协调处
effort
理各种问题，
to
占用
maintain
我
good
很大的时间和精力，
relationships
这
with
是
my
我
colleagues.
不喜欢做
And
的。
it
我更
takes
喜
up a
欢
lot
呢
of
有足够
my
的时间一门
energy.
深入的钻研
And
技
this
术。
is not something I
但
like.
是
I
我们
want
这
to
个公
spend
司
more
呢，就
time
包括这种小城市
looking
做管理
into
层，才能挣到更多的
technology
钱养
and
家糊口。
learn
所
more
以在现
skills.
实的
But
和我的爱
in
好
such
之
a
间呢，就
company,
让
we
我
have to,
很心里很
this is
焦虑。
the only job I
提
can
醒师傅
find to
还是
make a
知道
living.
该怎么办。
And it makes me very anxious.
这个挺
Master,
有
what
共
should I
性的。当
do?
你进入到管理层，从技术人员提升到管理层
When
的时候，
you
确实就是做了很
when
多人
you
事方面的
are
这些
promoted
沟
from
通
a
协调的事
technician
情。
to
他
a
解决问题
manager,
是啥我没注
you
意听
have
意思就是
to
说，他是继
deal
续
with
做
many
这个管
people. And his question is whether he should continue to work as a manager in the management and communicating with his manager and employees, or he should go back and work as a technician. So this person, what is his name? His question is actually very common for many technicians, many technical people, people who likes to work with their hands and brain. These talents they have, it's their habit that they want to work with a thing instead of work with a human being. And for people who have these issues, they might be very for engineers, for people who work in the IT industry, accountants, they might be.
其实你自己都不知道，你的老板已经发现了说你是有一些管理的天赋。
Maybe you didn't know it yourself, but your manager has already saw it that you have potential in management. But when you say your problem, we can just say that your characteristic, your personality is that you prefers to not prefer to work with human beings. You just want to work with something or work with mechanical things. Also, communication takes you a lot of time, but this is a job. This is the job. For example, the President of the United States, he might not be able to write computer codes, but his job is to guide other people and manage other people, and this is a real job. So in this question, when your career changes, your heart, your mind didn't follow up with it. And that's why we say that we always have to keep learning. We have to follow the modern world. You have to learn to manage. And this is a real job. And your technical job there will be less and less, and you will have more time working on management. And sometimes if you become a real boss, you actually don't have any time to work on the technical stuff. Most of your time will be spent on management, and so you have to adapt to this new management position and learn to do it, learn to do a better job at it. If you don't know how to do it, ask someone. So remember, while you're doing it, learn more and don't step back, Jujin says. Don't take a step back and become a technician again. Master says, from a technician to a manager, although there are a lot of difference, this is an improvement too. These are both knowledge, and you're serving your employer, and they're both very important. Master, last time there was a question. There was someone who was middle-aged and asked Master if it's a good time to change their career. And Master gave a very good suggestion, said that yes, you can change a career. And what is the new question? Can Master give us a little bit more guidance on middle life career change? What should we be careful about? A midlife career change. First, it might be because of natural retirement, or maybe because you were fired or you face unemployment. If you were fired and you are in the middle ages, then you have to look into yourself and change how you see, how you view the world, how you see your job. Because some people, let me give you an example. About over 10 years ago, in Vancouver, I actually met many people who lost their job. There was a man who was just over 30 years old. He asked for my guidance. Master, can you teach me how can I keep my job? I asked him, how long did you lose your job for? He says he lost his job 6 months ago. And in my conversation with him, I realized that he has a habit. For example, at the center, somebody knocked over a bottle of water, and he would just stand there and look. If no one else take care of it, he will take a step back and say that it's not my responsibility. And someone else ran over and picked up the bottle and then asked him, "What are you doing? Didn't you see it? Why don't you pick up the water bottle?" He said that nobody told me that I have to pick up a knocked over water bottle. This is just the basic knowledge of life. You're not a robot. We don't have to give you a direction, right? It's like if there is a mosquito on your face, you will want to wave it off, right? Why do you want other people's direction? So when I observed him, I realized that he has made a bad habit. He don't do any extra job. If you don't pay me and you didn't tell me to do it, I won't do it. For example, there is a printer that is not working. If there is a printer that continues to, the printer is broken and it prints all 1,000 pages, and when he just look at it and do nothing, would his employer be happy? He could lie and say that, "Oh, I didn't notice. I was focused on my work." But he said that, "Oh, you didn't tell me to take care of the printer." He pushed the job away. He says that this is not my job. Quinty says if it's at home, if it happened at home, he probably won't be like this. So I talked to him and I asked him, "Did your company go bankrupt?" No, it didn't. It's a public company. Our stock is doing well. And he said that it's his manager's problem. When he wasn't very focused, I asked him, "How's your job?" He said that, "Oh, I don't do a lot of work, but I earn a lot of a high salary. I earn over $100,000 every year. And if you do a very good job, my manager might be jealous. But if we don't do a job very well, then they will criticize us." And he said that our new boss, our new CEO fired me. He's so bad. He's not a human. And I asked what his birthday is, and I went to a fortune teller and found out that we are against each other. And so I told all the people in our class at the time, and I asked him, "Do you love your family?" He said, "Yes, I love my children. I love my wife." So I said, "You love your children, then you don't have a job. Now you can take care of your children at home every day." He says that, "No, I can't. I want to send them to good schools, and I need money to do that." So you have a responsibility too? Yes, of course. These are my own children. So I asked him, "If you lost your job, and what if you don't find a job for several years?" "Yeah, I tried. I couldn't find a job. Look at all the white hair that came out." And he started crying too. I said, "People like you, people like you brought this result to yourself. You wouldn't, you don't want to take any responsibility, and no matter what you see, you avoid it. Then this world is so cold. with your, are you working with your heart, with your conscience? He said no. And say that if you were the employer, will you fire someone who's like you? He said, yes, I will. I will fire myself first. Then I scolded him. You have 2 children. You brought your mother, who's 80 years old, to Vancouver. Your wife treats you very nicely. There are so many people who love you, and you should be grateful and pay them back. You are working a job for your happiness, but you are cheating your boss. And people like you should lose your job. And he said, Master, I understand. Don't criticize me anymore. What should I do? Many companies will talk to each other. And when people ask for how he worked in a previous company, they will say that he was lazy and he didn't work very hard. And so I suggest him to go back to his old job and repent. And when he talked to his employer, the employer took him back and gave him the same job position as salary. Many people who are employees, they will say that, oh, it's just a job. And compared to the manager, I only earn so little. My father, in my father's time, when I asked my father, if you build a house, would you work very hard? My father would say, yes, of course. They pay me, and so they are like my second parents. If they pay me $100, I would work. My work would worth $200. So you should face your employer, face your boss with a grateful heart. Then, in your job, you will have wisdom to solve the issues that occurs. If you are ungrateful, then you will just complain. It's too hard, it's too tiring, I don't want to do it anymore. There are many people who don't work and earn a lot of money. But what if you were grateful, then you wouldn't complain about anyone. So Jurgen says, Master is saying that it's not about career change, but it's about your mentality. Master says, if you want to have a midlife career change, if you were fired by your employer, then it's really about your mentality. Some people wrote to me say that if you are always getting fired by your employer, then it's your issue. Were you cheating them? You can only cheat your employer for no more than 3 months, because whether you have true ability or not, it will show, and your employer won't be, is not stupid, but they might be a little bit more tolerant. Jurgen says, Master talked about being grateful, and it's not just for people who are facing midlife career change, but it's for everyone, even for people who are new to a company, who are onboarding. If you wouldn't say that, oh, that person makes me angry and I don't want to work this job anymore, you would think that, oh, this is just something I should do. This is a challenge. I'm learning. I'm improving. You will have more positive mentality. Master says, coming back to midlife career change, say that if you, in some industry, you might retire at 50 or 55 years old. For modern people, there are better medical service, and it's easy to live to 80 or 90 years old. And in many countries, people are worried about a senior society. So when you're 50 or 60 years old, if you have good health and you have good energy, you can work for another 30 years. Then what should you work? So Jun asked, at 50 years old, what job should we choose? I remember last time when we answered a friend from Malaysia. He is over 50 years old, and he was successul in his old job. He wondered whether he should retire, and if he has his own business, and he made some money, and his work is not very tiring too. But he's worried that if he stayed at home, he would become ill. There's always trouble. If it's not your life trouble, it could be health trouble. And so, even though we are growing old, we should still do something. Everyone is looking at United States presidential election. How old was Trump? Trump was over 70 years old, but many other 70 years old, they will be coughing and they will be holding a cane. But Trump is criticizing others and being criticized. And he has a very good fighting spirit. And also President Biden became the president at age 78, and now he's over 79 years old. Many people, many 80-year-old Chinese grandpas, they will want to, they wouldn't want to do anything. But President Biden is still leading the people of the United States. And he is energized, he has the fortitude. He is still he is putting his over 80 years of experience to work. And also the previous Malaysian leader, he stepped into the office at 93 years old, and he became the new prime minister. And this question was asked by someone who's 50 years old. And so what should you do? You should continue to work. Say that if your industry has not been thrown over by time, then you should continue to work in this industry. Because there's a Chinese slang that says, an old general is better than 2 young generals. And if you are experienced in a certain industry, then you are very good at it. And so your experience and your skills are at the best. You don't need to retire, just continue to work.
但是心态上，我记得师傅那次指导的特别好，就说你老年一点了哈，你的心态上。
Jun says, I remember, Master, last time you said that as a senior, your mentality is different than a young man. Your mentality can be peaceful. You know that you are working for good health, but at the same time, you are working. Master says, at this age, I want to remind you more. First, don't think that you want to use the salary to make investment, to buy a house and rent it out, or to use this money to get married again. Your mentality should be grateful and peaceful, and just to become. To cultivate health. Cultivate is cultivating your body and mental health. And and cultivate longevity, live in live happily and joyfully. Zhezhen says, I remember there was a person in US and she is about 50 years old. When her company restructured, she was unemployed. And she said that, Master, I want to start my own business. I want to get back into work. And Master guided her that at your age, you shouldn't be in competition anymore. You can work, but you should change your mentality. Master says, usually when a person becomes 60 years old, some people, if you were not successful, you will want to make a fight. But at 60 years old, this is not critical. It's not logical. At 60 years old, if you fail again, would you be able to endure that torture? At 50 years old, you might be able to endure that failure, but maybe not at 60. And at such an age, you shouldn't have the mentality of retaliation. Kunti says some successful people at 50 or 60 years old, they might be very successful in their industry, and they will change their focus and start to do some charity work, like Bill Gates, and they will become volunteers at a non-profit organization. They feel that they actually have time to do something they're interested in while contributing to the society. Many years ago, there was a movie called Forrest Gump, and after he became wealthy, after he earned some money, he came back to his hometown and become a volunteer and also sponsored the church choir. Isn't it a happy life? Zhezhen says, when we were in Whistler, we interviewed some volunteers. They are skiers, and they are also volunteers. They look out for safety. Master says in many Canadian industries, there are a lot of volunteers. They help others for free, and they feel that it's very healing and it's true happiness helping others. They want to help others and benefit others. And look how happy he was, and he started singing whenever he wanted. And his mentality is very positive. So the mentality is very important. When your view, your value, your definition of good or bad is important. For example, my father started out taking care of children, and he was there to learn a skill, but why did he do all these other house chores? If he asked, why should I? Then he would have been very mad. But my grandfather understood it. He told my dad that you have a very good master. And he also cut my father off. If you come back, I won't take you in again. And if you don't do a good work, and if your master don't want you anymore, then I will not give you a place to live at home. You have to learn that skill. And your master has to be satisfied too. And so when my grandfather gave my dad this pressure, my father persisted, and after he became an adult, he was very grateful, and even at an older age, he went back to look for his master's descendants. Zhezhen says, so a person's ethical standards, like the person who was irresponsible, such people cannot work a long time in any industry. And so it's even more important to improve our characteristics and ethics. Even if we have a career change, it will be very smooth and successful. Quinty says, we mentioned many questions, many many wrong views of young adults. Some people want to find jobs that are easy but have a lot of that earns a lot of money. Then what is it like? You're like a worm in a bag of rice. So even though you're not doing any work, you are still earning money. So it's important for young people to cultivate the right view. We need to cultivate altruism. Many people I met in North America have built altruistic mind. Many people went to Africa, went to developing countries to help to build schools and bridges. With an altruistic mind, it can be a beginning point. It could be a starting point. And from here, you can think about what career, what job you want to have. With an altruistic mind, you will not be complaining, because you will have responsibility and love for your family. With a grateful mind, we should look at our employer, our company, with a grateful mind and do our job well, and don't wait for being criticized. If you are a designer, if your manager tells you that it does not fit our requirement and you have to change it, that is your manager, then you have to change it until your manager is satisfied. Many designers will say that if you change my design, I will quit. You are not respectful of me. And this is only arrogance. So we have to be very careful about it. And also, while we work, we are learning, we are improving ourselves along with a modern need. From 1990s to now, 2022, how much mechanical improvements are there? How many computers there are in China, but now everyone has a computer. Our tools and technologies are changing. We should be able to keep up with the change. And so when in our career, our value, our mentality is the most important. So when we are working, and if you're choosing between work and family relationships, it's easy. Just see which is more important to you. And if you were a technician, but now your boss promotes you to a manager, remember, your job is a manager now. Your time is spent in management. Your salary raise is for others. So you were confused and you were not adapted to your new job. So, there are many good questions today, and I benefited with you too. I discussed so much today. I don't know how much you have heard into your heart. I don't know if our young friends will benefit. If you have heard it with your heart, then you won't waste. You won't take wrong turns, and quickly you will feel successful, and you will hear recognition from your family, friends, and employer. This is a shortcut. I hope that you can grab this shortcut. All right. Jue-Zhen, when is our next live stream? Our next live stream will be in North America. In Vancouver, it will be Saturday, January the 8th at 6 p.m. And in Asia, Taipei time, it will be Sunday, January the 9th at 10 a.m. And there will be more interesting things to discuss, more interesting topics. All right, I wish everyone a happy new year. May you be auspicious. May all your wishes come true. May you have good health and longevity. May all your wishes come true, and see you next time.
我与您相遇，小小的红点里，人生就此欢喜。我快乐了，我健康了，我幸福了，我美丽了。在茫茫人海之中，让我与你相遇。小小的红点里，人生变得神奇。我智慧了，我宽容了，我慈悲了，我自在了。因为有了你，生命变得更坚定，无忧无虑。因为